In this video we'll work on Ruth chapter 2 verses 5 and 6. And I'm sorry about the neighbor's dogs. There's nothing I can do about them. Okay, let's see, no issues here. Okay, here we have, there's a literal alternate and a dynamic alternate. If we rest our cursor here, you can see literal alternate. Alternative analysis equals literal alternate. And this one here says alternative analysis equals dynamic alternate. So let's insert some labels, some clause labels. Sentence labels. So we have title, footnote. Let's add some more. Add column. This will be literal alternate. And dynamic alternate. Okay, usually literal alternates are entire sentences and dynamic alternates are complete sentences. Here, this is very unusual. Here it's just the subordinate clause. It's the direct quote that's either a literal alternate or a dynamic alternate. This is very rare, but it does happen. Let's write a rule, a find replace rule, that will move the comma from after literal alternate to before. We don't want a new group. In the punctuation. Okay. Okay. So we want a space, comma, space. No space. Space. And we'll want the same thing for a dynamic alternate, but let's make sure that worked. Okay. Then boys asked the leader of the workers, literal alternate. Okay, let's do this. Let's modify that. Let's make a copy and do the same thing for dynamic alternate. Okay, getting closer. Okay, who that young woman is. We want who is that young woman. Who is that young woman? Here, in our movement rules, for question formation, okay, in state of yes, no interrogatives, move the VP to the promoted position. We want this to apply to content interrogatives as well. Before we wrote this, it was just applying to yes, no interrogatives. But let's include content interrogatives. Okay, that's proper. Okay, who that young woman to? It should say, who does that young woman belong to? Okay, if we rest our cursor here, the word belong was deleted. Layer 5, row 17. Let's go look there. Layer 5, row 17. Okay, content interrogatives. Past tense, future, future. Okay, this is present tense. If we look here, okay, we can't look here now, but this is present tense. Who does that young woman belong to? So let's add another row for third singular present tense. Let's copy this row. It should be present tense, not should. Should be third singular. Okay, we want the stem and does. Who does that young woman belong to? Okay, who does that young woman belong to? That's proper now. But the word does, okay, now that's, okay, layer 5 or 22, that's the one we just added. We don't want this in a stative clause, a stative question. So let's go back. Okay, this was inserted by layer 5 row 22. Layer 5 row 22. Okay, we don't want this applying to stative questions. So let's say third singular present. Non-stative. And we can specify non-stative by clicking here. So it has to be an event, non-stative. And let's make a note. Okay, generated text is identical. That's the only sentence in this verse. Generated text is identical. Let's save it and go to the next verse. Generated text is identical. Okay, she came here from Moab. She and that woman, those are the same. Okay, she came here from Moab. She came from Moab there. Okay, what happened to there? Okay. In our pronoun spell out rule, layer 4, row 1. Layer 4. Okay, so these are locative pronouns. Okay, if this is locative pronoun and this is locative pronoun, these two will always be skipped. When these are executed, TPTA will first check this upper left corner. If that matches, then it will check row by row, and for each row it will check all the columns. And it will save the last cell that applies. So if this is the last one, then these two will never apply. So let's move this cell, move column, because these two are more specific than this one. This one is more generic. These two are more specific. These two, remember, they only come from place. When place is proximal, we use here. When place is distal, we use there. Okay, so let's try that. That woman came from Moab here. Okay, so now she came here from Moab. She came from Moab here. This is a little better. I would be fine leaving this the way it is. Now we're getting pretty particular. We can fix this. If the destination noun phrase is here, it is a little better to put it after the verb. We'll go ahead. In a real language project, I would probably just leave this the way it is. But for these videos, let's go ahead. Let this verb state a good adjustment. Okay, let's copy the structure. Okay, so now we're in structure 2 of 2. So let's make this one not optional. If the word here okay, this is the word place, and proximity is proximal. So we have place and proximal. Okay, if this is the case, then we do want this to be oblique 1. This will be oblique 1. And this one will be oblique 2. She came here from Moab. That woman came here from Moab. Okay. That's the last sentence in this verse. Generated text is identical. Let's save it.